One of the things that I always try to do is look for the thumbprint of God in anything that I do, because that thumb separates us from all of the other creation of God. And that means His strength, His power. When I look back at Free Camp over the last 25 years and what God has done, is I have to acknowledge that it was not done in some committee room. It wasn't done in a dream session. It was done because we watched the thumbprint of God. When you talk about it going national, in 2001, I decided that I wanted to leave General Conference in Cincinnati, Ohio, and go over to the East Coast and see if I could promote the concept of what we now call Mission M25. As God would have it, His thumbprint, His strength, His opening of doors, I ended up in a conference board meeting in North Carolina conference, and Pastor Jimmy Whitfield was sitting in that meeting. And it wasn't but a month later, maybe two, that I was in his church preaching the heart of what Mission M25 and what Free Camp is all about. As I shared the story and as I shared the heart of reaching out beyond the four walls of the church, I believe in youth camps, and we never want to replace those events, because those are very important for children. That's where I found my foundation. But there's a whole lot of kids out there that need something beyond, that will never get it through our youth camp. And that's when we started promoting Free Camp. He encouraged Cuddy Peacock to come to Amarillo instead of going to London, of all things, to do a missions trip. He said, well, Cuddy, why don't you consider going to Amarillo to this Free Camp? And Cuddy came out, and we began to dream about taking this thing national. Up till that time, it was all about Amarillo. And then in 2007, we were allowed to go do a Free Camp in conjunction with Youth Quest in Greensboro, North Carolina. And it's sprung from there. I mean, it's just been an incredible experience watching God take Free Camp and move it across this nation. We'll have 10 Free Camps this year in the United States of America. We've done them in Florida, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, Oklahoma, of course, Texas, and we're going to have to suffer and do one in Hawaii in December. As we go national, one of the things that you're so concerned about is losing the heart, the reason that God put His thumbprint on Free Camp. One of the core values of this thing is to take people who have children that will never enter a camp, and they've been raised with the values of this world, and mix them with children who are raised in the kingdom. We keep them separated, and it keeps it comfortable, it keeps it clean, keeps it neat. But the core of Free Camp is taking church kids and mixing them with kids who are not churched, and bringing them together, breaking down those racial, social, and economical, but more importantly, I believe with all of my heart, is the religious barriers that exist inside the church. We'll put our children in a school system where they hear foul language and where they're exposed to all kinds of sin, but when we get them in the church setting, we want to keep it clean and G-rated. And what we're hoping that we can do with Free Camp is to have the church's home field turf, where these kids coming in can feel the pressure of a holy life, they feel the pressure of living a pleasing life to the Lord. And they're going to say things and they're going to do things that's not right. We're bringing in kids who have learned to survive by stealing, by lying, and we're going to be an influence on them. So I hope that as this thing is carried out, that it won't be a camp that will be just for poor kids or just for outreach to kids or for kids who are troubled. You that are planning on doing a camp, make sure that you have some churched up kids that are there that can mingle with them and be a good influence on those kids that we're bringing in. It's vitally important that as we look at these new discipleship ministries, that leaders that are taking on Free Camp, when I look and I see across our country that God is beginning to break the heart of some youth leaders, that it doesn't become another thing on their agenda. It doesn't become another duty. It doesn't become another responsibility. It's not just another camp, but it's a camp where they're actually fulfilling the Great Commission. They're bringing kids in from out in the streets that will never have the opportunity, and they're mixing them with kids that are coming in. They've got to bring a number of their kids and mix them with those kids for us to truly have the heart of Free Camp. You know, I've had people always tell me, well, we sponsor kids to our church camp, you know, our conference camp. We as a church, will pick up some money and we'll pay for their way to go. That's not the answer for me. Now, if it's your answer, that's fine. But as a child, there was a short period of time in my life where that I got free lunches at school because my dad had gone into pastoring and we didn't make much money. And I felt like when I walked in the room at the cafeteria that everybody goes, there's that poor kid that couldn't afford a meal. Now they didn't, but that's what I felt on the inside. See, when we tell a kid, you're poor and we're going to pay your way to go to this camp, everybody give an offering now so that we can send this poor little kid to camp. We have just created a barrier in his life that pushes him further into that mindset that I will never be as good as the rest of the people. And then you always have, I don't care, the best of the best, the kids that pay their way feel like they deserve a little something extra. And so when you break down that barrier and you say nobody pays, everybody's treated the same. And then, you know, I've also had people tell me, well, we have fundraisers and the kids actually work. You know, we tried that for a period of time, and you're taking kids from a poverty mentality. They're there because their parents many times do not have good work ethics. And you're mixing them with kids who have good work ethics. And you're mixing those two kids together at a car wash. And the kids who have good work ethics are doing the work, and the kids who don't have good work ethics are not doing the work. And so they begin to fight among themselves. And you create a friction and a division there by creating the environment. And then we can't figure out why the kids can't get along. We're the ones that created the atmosphere for the problem. And so we have developed like the answer for all of that is let's just don't do any of it. Let's don't make the kids work for this camp. Let's give them a camp as a gift. The final thing that I'll say about Free Camp, and when I'm thinking about it going national, is that when you look at the word free, that's the gospel. It doesn't cost anything to get saved. Yes, it costs me my life once I get saved, but I'm saved by grace. It's free. I don't deserve it. I didn't earn it. It is something that I do because Jesus loved me enough that He came and provided a free salvation to me. And I find churches so many times that say, we're going to have an evangelistic outreach, and they plug making money to it. I know we give away a motorcycle. This isn't the only thing we do free. And people say, well, we're going to give away a motorcycle. And then they raffle tickets off and they make money with it. And they'll say, well, one of them said, we're going to build a gymnasium with it. That's what the world is used to from us. That, yeah, the gospel's free, Jesus is free, but we're going to charge you to get saved. And so I think that if you're really going to do evangelism, and if you're really going to touch people, if you really want to change kids' lives, you're going to have to do it at a no-cost thing. Because that's what the gospel's all about.